What is up, everybody? Today we're looking at a super creepy story I found on TikTok about a Goatman sighting. Pretty wild stuff, man, so let's get into it.
If what this Texas farmer sent me is true, then there is something living out there in those fields that should not exist. And it all started with a inhuman scream. Now, I can't verify any of this, but entertainment purposes only. So he owns a decent sized ranch in rural Texas, and one night around 2 in the morning, he was jolted awake by the sound of several of his livestock absolutely losing their minds out in the field. And he said that if you've ever spent time around, animals like that, you learn their noises, right? Their habits, and you know when they're hungry, you know when they're irritated, and you definitely know when they're terrified. And this wasn't normal. This was pure panic that he was hearing from them. So he grabbed a flashlight,
Animals
threw
always
on his
know.
boots, and he ran outside the house. The moment that he stepped onto the porch, he knew that something was absolutely wrong because the entire property was dead quiet. Not like a
It's a bad sign.
peaceful rural area quiet, no, like dead quiet. Like no animal noises, no insect noises, nothing. Just absolutely pure, terrifying, deafening silence is how he told me. And then he heard one final scream from somewhere near the back of the pastures, and he jumped into his truck and he drove down where the noise was. And when he reached the fence line, his headlights illuminated three of his animals. One was absolutely already torn apart on the ground, and the other two were badly injured just sitting there. But what disturbed him wasn't that they'd been attacked. I mean, it does happen with, predators, but it was how. There were no signs of a pack of coyotes, no bite patterns that he'd ever seen before, no tracks that he could, positively identify, just deep wounds and red stuff everywhere. So he assumed it had to be some larger predator, maybe a mountain lion, maybe something, that was wounded and desperate. But the next night, it happened again, and then it happened again, and then it happened another night. Now, always between the same time, always between 2 and 4 in the morning. Always the same terrified scream coming from his animals, the same type of panic, always another animal injured or dead, but never any tracks, never any, sign of what was responsible. And after nearly a week of this going on, he got tired of waiting. So he loaded his rifle into his truck and he parked near the pasture and shut off his engine and
Brave.
decided, you know what, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to catch whatever is coming here and doing this. So by midnight, everything seemed normal. And come 1 o'clock in the morning, still nothing. By 2:30, he was starting to think that maybe he was wasting his time and nothing was going to happen. And then every animal out there suddenly froze. And every single one of them stared toward the tree line and did not move. Then came a sound of like a
So
low
creepy.
guttural growl. But he said it didn't sound like an animal that or any animal that he had knew of. He said it sounded almost a mix of human with, in it, like something that was trying to imitate an animal. And his stomach dropped because he's never heard anything like that. And then he saw movement, and at first he thought maybe it was like a person that was walking through the trees, but a very large person. And then something stepped out from the darkness and into the moonlight, and that's when he realized that it was not human. He said this thing stood on two legs and at least 9 feet tall. He said maybe even taller.
That's
And
wild.
its shoulders were unbelievably broad. The upper body looked like almost like a bloated bodybuilder type of look, like that huge muscular look. But the head wasn't human at all, of course, but he describes it as a twisted mixture of a man and a goat combined. And
So
its
scary.
face was elongated and its eyes reflected the moonlight, he said. And from either side of its skull were these massive horns that were coming out. And they were at least a foot long, maybe even more, he said. Now the creature stood there staring directly at him, not at the livestock, but at him, not taking his eyes off of him. Like it already knew that he was there and he was watching him. And he said every instinct in his body told him to start the truck and leave.
Run.
But he couldn't move. The thing just stood there and was like he could see its chest rising from it breathing and just watching him. And then slowly it tilted its head, almost like it was figuring him out, or waiting for him to make the first move. And then it dropped onto all fours. And that's when he realized how big it actually was and how much danger he was actually in. Because it started to charge directly at him and fast. Way faster than something, that size should be able to move.
It's horrifying.
And he slammed the key into the ignition, threw it into gear, and he took off as fast as he could. And as dirt was exploding behind him, he looked in the side mirror, and this creature was still coming and quickly closing the distance on him. And its front limbs were pounding into the ground, and its horns were bobbing with every stride. And he said it was everything was going so fast, but it was also going in slow-mo. And he said it covered ground like a racehorse. Its movements weren't natural. They were way too smooth and way too deliberate for something like that. Then something happened that he said he'll never forget, and it creeps him the hell out. This creature stood back up while mid-stride and continued chasing the truck on two legs, keeping pace with him.
So
He said he was doing easily 40, maybe 45 miles an hour down this dirt road, and it was still there, right beside him, and he could hear it breathing, literally huffing as it ran next to him. He could hear rocks flying underneath its feet, and then suddenly, boom, this massive thing struck the entire truck and shook it. The creature slammed its shoulder into the back side of the bed, and it was hard enough to shove the rear tires sideways, he said. And he thought he was about to roll or begin to fishtail out, but somehow he ended up keeping control. And he mashed the accelerator down, and the truck just surged on forward. But the thing stayed with him for several more seconds, and then without any warning, it just veered off, leaped a fence in one single bound, and disappeared into the empty field that was on the side. And it was gone, just like that. Now, the farmer says he drove straight home and locked every single door, and he didn't sleep that night. Now, the next morning, he found a massive dent in the side of his truck bed, and impressions in the dirt near the pasture, unlike anything that he had ever seen before. And he sent me photos of the truck, which I will be showing throughout this video. And according to him, he hasn't sat out there alone at night since that happened.
Don't blame him.
He doesn't even like going to put his animals away at night, because whatever chased him that night wasn't hunting livestock. It was hunting the one thing watching it, and that was him. So let me know what you got.
Dude, that's so intense, man. The description of the body reminds me a lot of what you hear about Dogman, with the muscular build and just the height. It's so crazy, man. Just imagine seeing something like that. And the scariest thing about these type of stories, which reminds me of that other Dogman story that I reacted to and talked a little bit about here on the channel, is it's actually coming after you. It's one thing to see these things and get out of there, but when it locks eyes on you and just beelines for you, that's just horrifying, man. That's so crazy. I couldn't imagine being in a situation like that. I'd just be trying to get out of there. Thank God the guy didn't flip his truck or whatever, because that would have just been, who knows? You know what I mean? Oh, man, it's terrifying. The wild thing, too, is the versatility of this creature, how it was running on all fours like a horse, and then was able to just stand up and do a 2-foot run towards him effortlessly, man. That's just so crazy. It's so otherworldly and weird, man. It's what is going on? And another crazy thing is just how quickly this can happen, and then they're just gone. Like he said, it just jumped over the fence, and it's just out of there, never to be seen again. I mean, the evidence here is pretty wild, too. That giant hoof print in the dirt and slamming into his truck. I definitely wouldn't be sleeping that night either, man. Ooh, I'd be getting out of there, dude. Get me an Airbnb or something, be taking a trip, and maybe not coming back. I don't know, dude. That's wild. Super crazy story, though, man. If this is real, gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Let me know in the comments, have you ever seen anything like that before? Any sort of humanoid creature? Have you heard any animalistic / humanoid sounds in the forest or on your property or anything like that? And what do you think of this story? Do you think it's real? Do you think the guy's just making it up? Let me know. But yeah, man, just wanted to jump on real quick and share this story and talk a little bit about it. But that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. Y'all have a good one. I'll see you next time.